Business incubators can be cemeteries. That's the opinion of my next guest, technology expert Hanadi Jabado. Hanadi, why do you think this is the case?
You put in the same room 50, 100, 200 people who do not know what they're doing, who have no clue where they're going, who have the need for support, for mentoring, for coaching, and for guidance. And they're looking around and everybody else seems to be drowning. And so they drown too. If you need high-tech, broadband office space, then yes, go to an incubator. But nowadays, everybody can get broadband in their kitchen. I work from my kitchen quite often.
But do you think that there's no intrinsic value in having those incubator hub models?
There was once upon a time. So when incubators started being set up, there was a need for them. There was a need because people didn't have the infrastructure to be able to work from home. No one had high-speed broadband at home. ADSL didn't exist. You needed to get out of your house and go somewhere where you could get connected should you enter the digital age. Nowadays, we don't have the same need. If you are in startup world, there's a flow going. You need to meet like-minded people. I am extremely lucky because I work in Cambridge. I meet investors riding their bike. I meet entrepreneurs on the train. I am not sitting in a hub waiting for them to come and talk to me. They come and find me.
So why do you think the idea has continued to take off here in London?
Nowadays, people want to be entrepreneurs. They don't really know what an entrepreneur is. They don't really know what an incubator is. They don't really know what an accelerator is. But they very much want to be an entrepreneur. And if you are telling them that Tech City is great and Tech City is creating all of these jobs and that Tech City startups are so successful, well, they will believe it and they will come and they will want to get closer to the light.
So do you think the gospel of the government is working?
I definitely believe that there is a huge marketing effort behind Tech City. I read a press release about Tech City, and it said that Tech City was launched in 2010. Well, you launch a new movie, you launch a new product, you don't launch a cluster. Clusters get organically created.
In terms of hubs, there was this national push. It was called the National Virtual Incubator Program. It was a partnership by Cisco Systems and the Cameron government, the intention being to link up startups across the country. Do you think that was actually created, or are we just looking at one big London incubator?
The National Virtual Incubator has been launched. It does exist. It is struggling to take off. The nodes, as they call them, the local clusters, were identified and they were connected. However, nothing is happening and there hasn't been anything really taking off yet. So there's no traction. Cisco have been using the National Virtual Incubator to create their own innovation center or incubator or whatever you want to call it. Guess where? In Tech City, next to Google Campus, and it's called Idea London. Did we need another incubator in central London? I genuinely believe that had they built Idea London in the middle of nowhere, where rent is lower, where life is cheaper, entrepreneurs would have thrived and the local economy would have been boosted.
So who loses when nationwide efforts then kind of whittle down into very locally focused projects?
The entrepreneurs definitely do, the innovators definitely do, the taxpayers do, because it's their tax money that is invested in those projects.
Now let's talk about the experience of a Google campus, for instance. Do you think having a hub and a location where people of like minds can come together in any way commodifies the creative experience?
We have similar outfits in Cambridge, and we have the traditional St. John's Innovation Centre, one of the very first incubators in the United Kingdom. And what they do is amazing, and they are helping entrepreneurs who are more established, who can't afford to get their own office space. But we also have a lot of Google Campus wannabes, people who rent huge space and then sublet it to entrepreneurs who are desperate to get through. However, the experience of those entrepreneurs is that they get there, and yes, they do meet other entrepreneurs, but they also meet them in the colleges, they also meet them in the supermarkets, they meet them on the streets, they meet them at lectures. They do not get a unified experience because there's nothing happening. They're just working as if they were working, again, from the comfort of their kitchen.
Okay, now let's talk about marketing. There's a press release up on one of those Tech City London websites in which Number 10 issued a statement that said Tech City, also known as Silicon Roundabout, has grown from 15 tech companies in 2008 to topping the chart for new business generation in the UK in 2013 with more than 15,000 new startups. Do you believe that?
They probably are 15,000 startups, but how much of those will still be alive tomorrow? How many of those will still be surviving in 3 years? What is their contribution to the economy? How many people are these startups employing? What is their contribution to the rest of the wider United Kingdom economy? I would like to invite David Cameron and his government to take a look at a very good website called the Cambridge Cluster Map that quantifies the contribution that Cambridge has had to the economy over the years. And I would invite them to try and set up something similar for Tech City so that we see the numbers that you were quoting from the press release, how they evolve over the years, how can we quantify it? And I would like to invite them to go on one of our executive education courses on innovation. And maybe they will realize that actually innovation can only be harnessed. It cannot be manufactured.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me.